There's probably going to be some bad language in this, so you might not want to let the kids watch. Hey everyone, I'm Dom, I'm a wino, and we just had a decent card. Garbrandt versus Font. Now, a few things happened on it. So-so day for us Aussies. We got a good win with Calabar, and then we had a loss, but a fun performance from Tuffa. All my Czechs out there are going to be happy that their boy David Dvorak got up. I've been seeing your Czechs. My most hit video so far is the one about Jiri Prohaska, because all you Czechs have been watching it. So besides Australians, Czechs are my next best. So thanks, Czechs, and I'll keep an eye on your fighters from now on. But yeah, in terms of the actual card, well, that happened in the actual card. I'll get to those fights later, but I'll make my way down. The main event, Font versus Garbrandt, was a pretty good fight. It was pretty one-sided, really. Font is looking good. He's put himself into that title picture now. He's not going to get the title shot. We all know Jan is going to get that next title shot. Sandhagen's up there as well. But Font's right there. After beating Marlon Moraes and Cody Garbrandt back-to-back, after already being in the UFC for a long time and having some other really great performances, after beating Cody Garbrandt like that, like he's right there. Maybe one more win against Sandhagen. I've got a feeling Sandhagen's matched up against someone, but I'd have to look that up. Like I've said in previous videos, I just come straight into this after the card and start ranting because I'm a wino. And the actual fight itself was pretty clearly Font. Like, there are certain rounds that you could have an argument for. The first round, Cody got most of the volume, and it wasn't just pure volume. He landed some solid shots in there too, but the most significant shots in the round, there was like 3 or 4 real solid ones from Font. Pretty sure Cody got a takedown in there as well, maybe 2. So he won the grappling. So it'd be a real balancing act about who you thought won that. Immediate impact is supposed to outweigh cumulative impact, but Garbrandt kind of had so much more cumulative impact, and his cumulative impact was quite immediate as well. I know that's kind of playing both sides at once, but I could easily see that going for Garbrandt. And then he started the second round real well with a takedown and had top position for close to 2 minutes, because it was around the 3 minutes left that Font got up, if I'm recalling correctly. And it seemed like, Garbrandt didn't get the takedown straight away at the start of the first round. There was a little something else that happened there, but it was pretty close to the start. So Garbrandt was looking good at this point, because honestly, I personally did give him the first, but it was razor thin. I totally understand the arguments for giving that first to Font. Seems like one judge gave him the first, because that's probably the closest one he had to winning. And the fifth, he looked decent in too. We'll get to it later. And the second, there's an argument for him, but I think it's a pretty weak argument, because like I said, he came out, he got the takedown straight at the start. He pretty much dominated the first 2 minutes of the fight. Didn't do a lot of damage on top, though. And then once they got up, Font started putting his shit together and really working behind that jab. I mean, he was already using the jab in the first. And that's a point I forgot to make about the first round about Cody Garbrandt. What I would have liked to see a lot more from him were those calf kicks. Like, every time he landed one, it seemed to phase Font a little bit. Whereas when he landed, this is Garbrandt I'm talking about, when he landed his big, solid power punches to the head, like, he landed a lot of them throughout the fight, but Font just seemed to eat them up. Whereas those calf kicks, every time he landed one solid, Font kind of shook that leg out. So I would have liked to see more calf kicks from Garbrandt. He was successful in the wrestling early, and his game plan was to come in and wrestle a fair bit. So the combination of those two things led to him wrestling a little too much, I think, and gassing himself out. And it was a combination of, he didn't fully gas, but he was losing a bit of energy. And it was a combination of him gassing a little bit and losing the confidence, which really started at the point that Font got up in the second round. Because up until that point, it was razor thin. It's like, oh, who's going to win this one? But once Font got up in the second round, Cody seemed a little tired, and Font started putting it on him. And for most of the rest of the fight, it was kind of that, like Cody second guessing himself, wanting to wrestle, but not thinking he had enough energy, and not really believing in his power like he has throughout his entire career. And yeah, I thought Font definitely won that second round. He picked it up and put the pressure on, landed the much more significant strikes throughout the rest of that round. And Cody, as mentioned, didn't do much with his top time. So that's the only argument you could have for Cody winning that round, is his top time. And he didn't do much with it. So I thought that Rob was pretty clearly Font. And then third and fourth were basically all Font. Like, Cody just didn't look like himself. He looked like he was questioning everything he was doing. And Font was just getting more and more confident in his actions, landing well with his jab and then putting stuff behind the jab, some good body kicks, the odd leg kick of his own, but also the right hand following the jab. Like, that jab was just setting everything up. And then the fifth round, I mean, between fourth and fifth, the corner seemed to be doing a little something to psych Cody up, but I really thought they should have pumped the message into his head that, like, you're losing this fight, bro. You need a knockout here. And I know Cody had been knocked out in 3 of his losses previously, and that happened from brawling. But at this point, you're already going to lose the fight. Like, just go out there and really mix it up is your only chance left. Because Font has pretty much taken the last 3 rounds, maybe even all 4 up to that point. So you really need a knockout, Cody. And he did come out pretty strong at the start of that 5th round, but he faded towards the middle. He came back strong at the end as well, but Font did a lot in that round to really make you question it. Like, they both landed some really immediately impactful strikes. So it was a hard round to call, but it doesn't matter how you scored that, because Font had already won the rest of the fight basically up till then. So congratulations to Font. Big winner. But I think the biggest winner on the card was Carla Esparza. She's got to get the title shot next. She has to. Yan Jianan had been looking fantastic in her entire UFC career up until this point. Not just winning all her UFC fights, but winning them against top-ranked opponents. And Carla just shut her out completely. The first round, she got that takedown pretty easy, and it was in the center of the cage. Like, she got her down, but Yan kind of got up a few times, and it was just like a scramble for the first, like, 30 seconds to a minute where it's continual Yan trying to spring up and Carla getting her down. But once Carla settled into her top position, that was pretty much it for the round. Definite 10-8 round. Mostly positional for most of the round, but I think that was the smart thing for Carla to do. And it seems like she's learned from her last fight, because she got the win over Marina Rodriguez, who we just saw beat Michelle Waterson, and she's beat some other really good ladies, Amanda Hebus being one of them. But Carla let Rodriguez into that fight by dropping back on low percentage leg locks towards the, well, not even towards the end of the first round, and then within the last minute of the second round. And she was dominating top position in both those rounds until she did that. And then she ended up getting real fucked up and letting Rodriguez back into the fight. So it seems like she's learned from that. Like, when it happened, it's like, what are you doing, Carla? It's stupid. But the fact that she got that win and she learned that lesson has probably been good for her in the long run, because the first round of this one against Xiaonan, she wasn't going too crazy on the offense. She was making sure she maintained position and kept Xiaonan down. And by the end of the round, she landed some huge elbows and some good damage. So it was probably already a 10-8 round just on the dominance and on the fact that she'd stopped Xiaonan from doing anything while controlling her the whole time. But then that damage as well just really solidified the fact that that was a 10-8 round. And the second round, she came out, she got the takedown straight away again, once again in the middle of the cage. And I think that's very important with Xiaonan, because if you try to take her down against the cage, you might get there eventually, but it's going to be a real struggle, and you're probably going to miss a few shots because she is super strong. And if she can use the cage to keep herself up, she's going to be tough to take down. But taking her down in the center of the cage doesn't seem too hard. And once you get her down, if you can keep her down, that seems to be the key to victory. That's where Gedalia could have beat her, and it's where Esparza did beat her. But Esparza seemed to have got the confidence from the first round, knowing that she can hold her down and getting that damage towards the end of the first round, that once she got her down in the second, she was just ready to go straight for damage. And she really did, like throwing those elbows, getting her in the crucifix, and yeah, just getting the TKO stoppage. It was a super impressive performance. It was a completely dominant performance against a really high-ranked lady. There's no question that she's the only one who should be getting the shot against Rose next. One, it's the rematch. She beat Rose in the past. And the only other person who could argue for the next shot against Rose is Wei Li, who's trying to make the argument. But really, she only had one title defense, and it was in a great fight, but it was super close that could have gone either way against Joanna, who is an all-time great of the division. I'm not taking anything away from Wei Li from winning that. But then she got knocked out, not even within the first round, but possibly even the first minute against Rose. So it's like, you really don't have an argument for a rematch here. You need at least one win to get back to that title shot. And Carla has just won 5 in a row, not just five against top ladies like Marina Rodriguez. Well, it's Rodriguez. Oh, no, she's Brazilian, not Mexican. So I will say Rodriguez. Marina Rodriguez, who showed how good she is by beating Waterson. Waterson herself. Alexa Grosso. Grosso. And yeah, she's been thereabouts for ages. Even before the win streak, she had a really close split decision win over Gedalia, who's another one of the top ladies in the division. And a lot of people thought she won that fight. So the rematch story, the streak she's on, the dominance she just beat Yao Xiaonan with, who has been looking unstoppable in the division. You got to give her the shot next. Go Cookie Monster. Then we get down to the heavyweight fight. Sad that the Aussie lost, but it was a great fight. And I agree with the decision. First round, it seemed like Tuffa just couldn't get his eye, and he just seemed too nervous in there. Something wasn't right, and Vendera was, calm and throwing straight shots and easily won that first round. Second round, it started similar, but there was this point where there was an exchange where Vendera landed a big one, Tuffa landed a bigger one, and it was like, oh, shit. But then Vendera landed... So Tuffa's bigger one was a left, and then Vendera landed a right to end the exchange, and it actually stunned Tuffa. Maybe even wobbled him, but he backed up to the cage, and then Vendera unloaded with a whole bunch of punches, like, smelling the blood. Tuffa tried to dodge it for a little bit, but then he's like, I've got to fight my way out of this, and he landed a huge left that opened up. Well, it wasn't a massive cut. It seemed like a massive cut, but it was a heavily bleeding cut, and that could have looked good for the judges. And it seemed like once Tuffa saw all that blood and saw he could have success, he started getting a bit more confidence. And I feel like he won the rest of that round, but Vendera had done enough earlier in the round to counteract what Tuffa did towards the end of that round. Plus, Vendera wobbling Tuffa is more significant than Tuffa cutting Vendera. I think a wobble is more immediately impactful than a cut. So I still gave that round to Vendera too. And then the third round, Vendera was just outlanding him once again with heaps of volume and strong volume too. It's not like they were soft shots. But Tuffa did land, well, earlier Vendera landed a big body kick that you could kind of tell looking from an outside view that it affected Tuffa, but Tuffa had a good poker face and kind of hid how much it was hurting him. And later in the round, Tuffa landed a big shot to Vendera that seemed to rock him a bit, and then a body punch of his own that also seemed to take it out of Vendera. So at this point in that third round, Vendera had outstruck Tuffa and had some strong shots too, but these significant ones are like making it a question. And then there was this groin shot that broke things up for a bit, and there's only like 38 seconds left in the round, and you're thinking it's just going to be a barn burner when they come back out. But once they did come back out, Vendera definitely won that last 38 seconds as well. So he was probably already edging it up to that point. There was a question because of the significance of a few of the shots that Tuffa had landed, but then he just completely shut it out at the end of the round. I gave it to him 30-27. I could see some arguments for one of those, second or third rounds going for Tuffa, but really, I don't see it. And I just hope Tuffa doesn't get cut because he's 1-3 in the UFC now. But he's had two close fights in a row that he ended up on the wrong side of. This one, definitely. The last one against Felipe, a lot of people questioned. He did get a good win against Juan Adams. And then in his debut, he got knocked out real quick. But, you can't look too much into people's debuts. There's octagon jitters and everything like that. So he's always exciting. He's definitely got heavy hands. And I hope he gets another shot. Then we go to Ricardo Ramos versus Bill Agia. I think, just give me a sec to double check if I am on the right line here. No, Dumont versus Spencer, which I thought was an interesting one. I know the first round was super close. I actually gave this fight to Spencer, to be honest with you. I thought the first round, I think we all thought the first round was super close, but I thought Spencer was landing the better strikes, the more impactful strikes. Whether or not she won on the numbers, I didn't see the actual numbers, but yeah, I thought she was landing the better strikes. If anything, the striking was equal. The grappling was definitely equal because there was hardly any in there. The only grappling we saw was a quick clinch by Spencer against the cage that Dumont almost immediately shucked herself out of, so that's a stalemate. And then if you are going to call it equal, you go to the secondary scoring, octagon control and aggression and octagon control, and Spencer definitely had that. I thought I was crazy, though, because at the start of the second round, you saw the tweets from all the journos and shit, and every single one of them was scoring it to Jamon. I was like, I thought that was Spencer. Like, I know it was close, but almost pretty clearly. But I can understand the arguments going either way. Then we had the second round, which was clearly Dumont, landing way better strikes, the more solid strikes and way more of them, and stop at any grappling from Spencer. And then the third round was pretty clearly Spencer, in my eyes. I know one judge scored at 30-27. I'm like, what were you watching in the second round? How the hell did you get that? Dumont might have landed the odd strike here or there, but it was barely anything. She got I forget if it was even a takedown or if it was just like, a messy kind of scramble that ended up with her on top. But she had a little bit of top time early in the round, but she did absolutely nothing with it. Then Spencer got up, had Dumont against the cage for a good portion of the round, and was landing some super good elbows and some good punches as well. Dumont got the odd knee in or two, but they really weren't anything compared to the elbows and punches from Spencer. So I was already giving Spencer the round at that point, and then she got a takedown, and she spent the last minute or so on top, which once again, she didn't do anything with it, but it totally cancelled out the top time that Dumont had early in the round, because neither of them did anything with their top time, and I thought Spencer clearly got the better strikes in the round. So I thought it was clear that Dumont got the second, Spencer got the third, and I understand the first being super close and it going either way. So that's why, no matter who won that one, it wouldn't be a robbery. But I personally had it going for Spencer. I'm not going to complain about the result, though. Then I'm pretty sure we get to Hamos versus Agia. And, yeah. This one, I thought there was some weird commentary in terms of judging, because for me, Hamos clearly won the first two rounds. I thought he won the striking. Whether or not Agia had the volume in the striking, Hamos clearly had the more impactful strikes, and there isn't a doubt that he won the grappling. Not even a slight doubt. He got way more takedowns, and he also had better positions. Even if Agia did get up quick for some of them, he got the back a couple of times. In the first round, I was really impressed with Hamos. He'd get the back, and then Agia would stand up, and Hamos would have a hook in, and he could be attacking a choke, but he realized he was losing the balance, and he jumped off. Quite often, people will commit too much to that and lose position or gas their legs out. So I thought it was smart of Hamos to give up that position, even though it seemed like it was a good position to have in those moments. And then, like I said, he won the striking as well. The third round I also gave to Hamos, but it was a lot closer. Agia was doing a lot more in the strikes. The strikes were pretty close. And once again, Hamos got a couple of takedowns, I'm pretty sure, so easily won on the grappling. So I had it 30-27, but I don't think I'd argue 29-28 if you gave Agia the third. But the first two rounds were so clearly Hamos, and for the commentators to be there going, ooh, we don't know what's going on here. Not only sometimes judges are fuckwits and make the wrong decision, that's a point you could make, but they're actually making the point I don't know how I'd score this. I'm are you fucking retarded, man? Those two rounds were clearly Hamos. So good to see Hamos get the win, because he definitely deserved it. And yeah, he's been good for a while. So I'm glad to see him soldier on, and I'm keen to see what he does next. Was that the first fight on the card? The main card. No, Manson versus Shahbazian. This was a great fight. It's just as Manson said, tale of who could impose their game. And in the first round, it was definitely Shahbazian, which was strange because Manson didn't even seem to try to impose his game, his wrestling game. He was getting outstruck, and he maybe tried to clinch once, and I remember him going for one takedown, and Shahbazian got the double underhooks in straight away and kind of shucked him off, and then the rest of that, Manson didn't do much with it. It was a clear win for Shahbazian in that round, but not a 10-8, because Manson was still landing some real good jabs and wasn't getting completely blown out by the strikes. I think he landed some leg kicks and some body kicks as well. But yeah, Shahbazian was definitely owning it on the feet. And then the second round, the commentary team tried to say the second round was close. I think it was pretty clearly Manson, because he got the takedown almost immediately at the start of that round. Shahbazian might have got a few strikes in, but nothing too much. And he had top control for most of the round. Shahbazian got up once, but then got taken down again. So that's two takedowns for Manson, a hell of a lot of top time. And while Hermansson was on top, he was landing some good elbows and punches, especially the elbow. Like the punches were hammer fists mainly, which can be quite strong, and his were looking decent. But elbows especially were good. And then Shahbazian did sweep, and it was not so much a sweep as it was a scramble. Like he was trying to get up, and Manson got a bit overzealous and a bit high on the back. Like he was going for his pattern and guillotine at first, and Shahbazian kind of rolled it over, and then Manson was going for almost like a rear naked choke, but he had his leg over one of Shahbazian's arms, like over the shoulder. So it's like, oh, you're a little too high there. And Shahbazian kind of turned it and got to top position and held that top position for most of the rest of the round. Didn't do much damage until right at the end, the last 10 seconds, when it looked like he was throwing heavy damage. He was trying to throw heavy damage, but Hermansson was doing a good job of avoiding, and even if it hit, minimizing that damage. And I think that round was nowhere near as close as the commentary team tried to claim it was, because Manson had way more time on top and did more damage with the ground and pound. And then the third round was complete domination, 10-8, definitely. Hermansson getting the takedown and just absolutely beating him down on the ground and keeping him there the whole round. Finishing in mount, like he had the crucifix position at one point, but yeah, finished the round in mount, throwing heavy strikes. And happily, all three judges gave that round a 10-8, which they should have. So, yeah, that was clearly Hermansson's fight, I thought. Now, going to the prelims, I'm going to reverse order it because my Czech fans, boy, was second off the card. So the first on the card was a win for Ismagulov against Alves, and Ismagulov looks like he could be, a dark horse in the division. Not only has he strung together a few wins, he's beaten some good dudes. Joel Alvarez and I'm forgetting who else now, but there was some decent names in there. And this win again was pretty dominant. The first and second rounds were clear. Alves made more of a show of the third round. I know Alves got the knockdown at the start of the first round, but what Ismagulov did with the rest of the round with the top time and those heavy body shots in the ground and pound, he clearly won that. So interesting to see what he does next. And then Dvorak, yeah, you Czechs have to be pretty excited about Dvorak because flyweight's not the most filled division, so you can shoot yourself up the rankings pretty quick. And this was a real impressive win. There's not a huge amount to say about the fight because it was over so quick, but he set up the ground time with a huge overhand right that really seemed to hurt his opponent. I'm forgetting his opponent's name now. Just give me a sec. It was Ronderos. But he got on top, and then Ronderos kind of turned over to try to get back up, and not only did Dvorak take the back, but he got right under the chin in the transition. So that's a smart way to do it if you can, because like they don't have time to get the chin in or even fight hands because it was already under the neck, and Ronderos tried to fight hands by stopping Dvorak from getting his subsequent hand to come up and support the choke, but it was so far under the neck that he choked him out with one arm. One-armed rear naked choke. Super impressive. Having the power to do that and the way he sunk it in the transition, that's, something. He's a fighter to definitely keep our eye on, and he could be launching himself up the rankings real quick. To be honest, I think he was another flyweight on the card who also made a real strong impression. And it wasn't the next fight, it was the fight after. But yeah, Bruno Silva, he's got dynamite in his hands. Once he landed, I think he landed 2 huge shots, but once he landed the first one, it took everything out of his opponent, Rodriguez, and then landed another one and just, basically flatlined him. So, yeah. If I'm pretty sure Silva was flyweight as well. Maybe that's an interesting match to set up. Those two winners put up Dvorak against Silva. That could be a fun fight. But, yeah, once again, not much you can say about the Silva fight because he just finished it so quick. And, yeah, he's looking good. His complete domination of JP Byers. Now this super quick and impressive knockout. And he's another one to watch at flyweight. Flyweight's starting to heat up. But I jumped ahead to that fight. There was a fight in between those two, and it's one that us Aussies, I sound like a fucking American, us Aussies can get real excited over, and that's Josh Calabar. Josh Calabar won his fight against, now I'm going to need to look at this name again, Noridenbeki. I'm probably saying that wrong, but a Chinese dude. And it was a hard fight to look good in because the style of Noridenbeki was, a hard one to look good against because he just wanted to wrestle, especially like push you against the cage. Even if he can't take you down, he's just going to try to hold you against the cage, especially because Calabar's main thing is striking, and Noridenbeki knew that he didn't want to be at range, especially when he felt a couple of those shots. The first round was hard to score because Calabar landed some real solid shots, but he was getting controlled against the cage for almost the entire round. So if you're looking at letter of the law and most impactful moments, the strikes probably were, but Noridenbeki did have almost the entire round in cage control and got a couple of takedowns, even though Calabar jumped straight up. But then as the second and third went on, it was just Calabar taking over. He was more able to defend the shots, as in wrestling shots, more able to defend the clinch attempts, more able to, even when his opponent got the clinch, shuck out and get back to the center. And he was landing way better shots. His jab was sharp as. He couldn't commit to long combinations because if he did, he'd just get grabbed again and time would just get eaten away as it went. But he clearly was busting him up with shots. Broke his nose in the third, pretty sure. And, yeah, good win for Calabar. After drawing with Charles Jourdain, who has looked real good at featherweight, and losing his debut at lightweight against a huge lightweight when Calabar's a featherweight in Jalen Turner, and a lightweight who's looked pretty decent at that division, and Calabar coming in on short notice, so that loss wasn't the worst in the world. The draw was actually huge for him against Jourdain because Jourdain was looking like a world beater. Like hasn't Jourdain beaten what's his name, Touchy-Feely, Andre Feely, which is a pretty good win. Maybe he's beat him or lost him, but it was a close fight either way. And he's had some impressive performances in the UFC. So him drawing with Jourdain, I was super impressed by, and now he's finally got a win. Let's see where he goes from now on. Who was next on the card? I'm pretty sure it was Old Man and Court McGee. Oh, no, Silva Rodriguez. I already talked about that. Then McGee Silva. So another Silva. But, yeah, this fight, yes, Court McGee won it. But I thought it was a little closer than they were given credit for. Like, that first round I actually gave to Silva because he landed some solid shots at the start of the round. A big head kick, a big leg kick that basically knocked Court McGee down. Court McGee had a bit of top time and whatnot, but he got a good takedown and a little bit of top time, but he basically bailed out of it straight away because Silva was edging towards an armbar. And once Silva got up from that, he already looked super tired. And Court did land some good body shots and whatnot. He looked the stronger moving forward. But then Silva landed another really solid right hand at the end of that round. And I thought the super impactful stuff he did at the start and the real strong shot at the end counteracted Court's, few shots and his good body shots and his takedown. It was the more impactful, and that's what you're supposed to judge things on. Also, I thought Silva's game plan wasn't great. I thought he could have been winning the striking, and he was gassing himself by trying to wrestle too much. I know he's a jiu-jitsu guy, and he wants to get it into a grappling arena, but he could have won if he just kept it striking. Court had the forward pressure and a bit more volume, but Silva was landing much more solid strikes. The second round was clearly Court McGee, 10-8 on all judges' cards, and I called it a 10-8 as well. He basically got on top and just dominated from there for the whole round. But start of the third, Silva showed, once again, what I was saying, he should have spent more time striking, should have had more confidence in his striking, because he came out, he listened to his coaches. Coaches said attack the body, and he came out the start of that third round, landed a few real good kicks to the body, and some other solid shots that seemed to rock Court a bit, which is super impactful. But then Court did get a takedown and pretty much dominated the rest of the round, especially because Silva was exhausted. So there's a slight argument you can say Silva won that third, but I don't think you can really argue that, because the super good work he did early, I think it was only in the first minute or so, and then I think it was pretty clearly counteracted by Court's dominance throughout the rest of the round. So Court definitely won that one. He soldiers on. I think he was on a four-fight losing streak. I think he'd lost 4 fights in a row before this fight, so that would have been 5. Probably would have been Cutsville for him, but he's kept himself in the UFC. And then pretty sure before just moving on, good work, Court. I thought you did real well. And then, once again, to talk about the judging, I thought that fight was closer than the Hamos Agia fight, and the commentators were like, Court's clearly won this, which I agree Court won it, but I think there was more argument for Silva, as I just stated, with his impactful striking and whatnot, than there was for Agia against Hamos, who Hamos was getting the more impactful strikes, plus he clearly won the wrestling and grappling. But the commentators were saying this was all Court and there was no question, and they were saying there was who knows who wins out of Hamos and Agia. It's just confusing the way they interpret the score. If they've even looked at the scoring criteria, I don't know. But the way they understand scoring just doesn't seem to work a lot of the time. Rothwell versus Barnett. Look, Rothwell was looking great. I was always pretty high on Rothwell, but since he's come back in the last couple of years, I think he had a long injury layoff or something like that. We didn't see him for a while. He's been a bit shaky. He's definitely been hard to bet on, because you never know what you're going to get, and he doesn't look super active. This fight, he was in control the whole time. He was methodical. He was walking Barnett down. To be honest, Barnett came in on short notice, and it looks like his skills aren't quite at UFC level yet. He was a little too wild and undisciplined. I'm sure he's got some big power, and he looks like fun to watch, but he just doesn't seem to have the skills, and he was so buggered after getting up after Rothwell took him down, and Rothwell was winning on the feet anyway, and then Rothwell got the submission in the second round. So dominant performance by Rothwell. Definitely thought he won that one clearly, and that's all the fights, but just got to give a quick shout out to some other stuff that happened on the card. First of all, I forgot to mention when I was talking about the Manson fight, I loved his post-fight interview when he said, "I'm growing my curls out, so can I join the funky family?" with Ben Askren and Chase Hooper. For anyone who hasn't watched, there's a series on UFC Fight Pass called The Funky Family, and it's just a little comedy series, and it's actually pretty fucking good. Like, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone who doesn't know MMA, because most of the jokes are MMA-style jokes, but Jesus Christ, like, I had some good laughs, and yeah, both Askren and Hooper are good in it, but Hooper's got a real talent for comedy, I think. Like, his delivery is pretty hilarious in a lot of it. So hopefully they do another season, and hopefully Manson can show up as like a long-lost brother or uncle or something, because, yeah, I love that he asked to be the Funky Family, and then Chase answered it with a tweet saying, yeah, you're in. So love that. And then we also got to mention there were 2 retirements on the card. Alan Joe Barn and Paul Felder. Good work, both guys. Yeah, you've both had amazing careers. Thank you to both of you for what you've done. And I always enjoyed watching both of your fights. So, yeah, bittersweet moments, retirements, because it's like I'm never going to see those fighters again. Not necessarily never. Sometimes people come back from their retirements, but supposedly we're never going to see him again. So it's like sad I won't see him fight again, but it's also like appreciative of what they put in and happy for them to move on to the next phase. And both of them, are working on the desk or commentary team. Joe Barn hasn't been on commentary before, but he is on the desk regularly. And Felder, I'm pretty sure, has been on both. He's on commentary quite often and on the desk a bit. So they got careers going forward. And it's probably smart of them both to get out now. Well, they've still got their mental faculties. Joe Barnes still pretty, and Felder's as pretty as he was coming in, basically. He hasn't been scarred up too much. So good on them. Thank you both for your careers and for the fights you've given us. And that's it for the card. Hope you enjoyed my rant. I was planning for this one to be a quick one, but like I said, my name's Wino Rants. I just ended up ranting for 42 fucking minutes. So however long you stuck through it, thank you very much. Anyone who stuck through to this point, please comment and let me know, because I'd be very appreciative. It seems like right now I'm just screaming into the ether. But that's all right. That's all. I just want to fucking start doing something, and hopefully people will start listening. So that's my thoughts on the card. I thought it was a decent card, and yeah, can't wait for the next card. Can't wait to see you all again. And to all my Czech fans out there, keep clicking on my shit.